Okay, I thought I'd try to get you some information on this particular error that is popping up here. Let me go ahead and highlight this real quick. It basically has, it looks like either like an object is missing or it's an incorrect type. Now, I looked at these references here, these particular references, and they're the same reference. It's an 88. This is the same from game to game. So here's this is a 90E. There's an 88. Okay, there's that one. So it it could be a missing reference, though I did not remove any mods. I'll show you that here in a second. So I'm guessing that this is a reference. And if I actually try to go over to here and do like a PRID, it basically will come back and say like they're not found for an object reference. So if this is an object reference, they're definitely not in my game. So to look at the actual game saves, each one of these represents a window of time in the papyrus log, and they are tied to a game save. And the reason I did that is the game save was an event I could use whenever they're created. I could use that as an event to then go into the papyrus log and capture a time. But also, if there's something in this particular window that is important, it's actually linked back to a specific game save that I could then upload or take a look at a future time. Parsing game saves is something I have set to do. I do parse them a little bit. It's just a generic function that it's basically a function that looks at data. You give it the format, and then it will then break the format down. It'll actually break the data down into chunks based on the format you give it, and therefore it should work on any data file. It needs to be updated to handle embedded structures and also recursive data. I do have a recursion thing in there, but it's kind of basic. I just threw it together. It's like a quick and dirty I could throw together just to get it to work, and then improve it, build on it later. And so here's that's the errors we were looking at. So if we take a look at the game saves, we can actually go over to here. This is the, again, these are the session times. This is the first time I started playing. I added some textures, which changed the way things looked. And I think there was an optimization in those textures. It wasn't just, aesthetics. It was optimization, and I think it may have fixed something. This is an ESM replacer. I think he modified some of his environments. I have not gone in here yet, so I don't know if these particular errors here are a container, because it does do a container reset, although I'm not sure what the reset would be for, whether it be to recalculate something. I have no idea. I looked at the script that you had linked me to, and it basically just had if the thing is running but the timer didn't start the timer, and then if it's greater than whatever the time is and it's running, then just go ahead and reset it. But I'm not sure what the reset does functionally. Like I say, these references I looked at, they are definitely not in the system, if that's what this is. I did not remove any mods, but I did, like I say, that's the only ESM replacer that I have. I did put some Vault Boy icons, which are like animated icons. These are like the individual ones, and then he packaged them in an all-in-one, and these are actually the installs. So you can see where I added them as he released them, and then he released this all-in-one. In the session time, I can actually look at, I think it's this one, I can't really. These are all the game saves associated with that gaming session. These are archived off. It's automatically configured to, and this is user configurable, just to give you a little info. you can basically say I want 10 actual game saves to exist on my hard drive. The rest are actually archived off into zip files. I do delete them. It doesn't automatically delete them. I delete them manually if I don't need them for anything. But it kind of gives me the ability to save a history of things that that I did or that the game has done, so I can go back and look at it and see maybe what went wrong at a later date. Here's the game save. So this is the last game save here, and we're going to open it up in Resaver. So there is two unattached instances. So if we just take a look at like all the game saves, so I'm going to show you there was two right when that popped up. So we'll go up here to this one, and if you notice, this one will have two also. So it seems like this was common throughout all my game saves. And I actually deleted a lot of this data because, if you noticed before, there was a lot of errors, and then there was a blank spot where I refactored some code, and it literally couldn't find the data that it needed, and it was a timestamp issue where I provided it with the incorrect timestamp, so it wouldn't find the data that it needed. And then I fixed it. So this is more of the newest data, and if you remember correctly on the other video, it actually had, you notice there were some Workshop Framework warnings. So there were some warnings up there, and I don't remember what they were because I don't really handle at this point when the Papyrus logs actually roll out of 0. So it'll create like a 0 log. So, and this remembers where the original entries are. So if it rolls up into, let's say, log 1 or log like .1, .2, .3, .4, this does not automatically link to it, so then it can't find the data that it needs. So only the most relevant data I could find using this particular interface, at least at this point in time. So I do remember there was there were some workshop warnings, but I don't remember looking to see what they were. So they may have been the same thing. So from the very first gaming session here, it very well could have had those warnings for an object where nothing was actually removed, unless something in a script did it. I'm not sure what it would have attached to, because the only thing that I know of that would have a container would be like, let's say, an NPC's inventory, and there were a lot of NPCs that were, killed, and then, the system removed them. So I don't know if it's attaching to that. There was another anomaly. I'll show you where that is here in a second, but let me bring this up and show you this is the latest game save. And all these menus are 100% user configurable. They are not fixed in the application, and that's what's taken so long to develop this, because whenever you click on something like over here, like this, all of these are basic functions that the program does, and then you tell it whenever you click on a particular form or window or item that you want access to these functions. So you configure everything. All right, so over here, let's go ahead and take a look at Resaver. So there's two unattached instances that I have. One is like an input layer, and I always have this. I have no idea what this is. I'm assuming it's where different DLLs register themselves through Fallout 4 script extender, and it basically puts itself in an input chain to where whenever a key press or something is done, it'll pass that down through a series of layers, which each layer represents a particular DLL. So if it can't use it, it passes it on. Or even if it can use it, it'll pass it on and allow you to double map a particular key to two different DLLs. And the other one, I have no idea. And I've seen this before, but I don't know what it is because I haven't even begun to even try to look at this or break down what I would need to even figure out what this is. It'll come at a later date. I've got too many other things I'm kind of got on my plate right now. But these are the only two that I have. There was nothing removed. No mods were removed. There's nothing here. So everything was added. I did have that crash, and then the sewer changed. So if this is a container that gets reset, I'll tell you one thing that I did do. So if we go over to, let me get out of here. Let's go back over to Sanctuary. So let's go back over here to Sanctuary. Now, an interesting thing about this particular interface, occasionally whenever I go to hit fast travel, I should be able to press E, and E would be, like enter. Sometimes I can't. So it's almost like the input chain gets broken. Like here, as an example. See, sometimes I can press E and this will work. Now it does not. I don't know if that's associated with that input layer unattached script. I have no idea. It works sometimes, sometimes it doesn't. It's like when I use Workshop Plus. Sometimes when I exit the workshop and I go to hit tab does not put me into the Pip-Boy. I have to hit escape, even though there's nothing on the screen. There's no interface on the screen. It's like by hitting the escape key, I can now press the tab key. And the tab key works. And I remember I've mentioned that to a user in a previous post. Okay, so let's let this thing load up. It'll take a second. And this is the only time I could ever figure when a reference changed. And I actually noticed it in the last video I posted. And I'll show you exactly what it is here in just a second. It takes a little bit to load. But basically, when I had rebuilt the complex sorter patch, normally the bashed patch comes before the complex sorter patch, except I had it reversed. So let's ditch this thermal vision here. Alright, so let's pop up here. Let's go back over to here. So if you take a look here, I actually had this thing here I believe it was up here. See, I think it was kind of up here. And I actually had to move it down here. Now, when this was above the bash patch, when the complex sorter, which is basically what's generated by Mater's script, which changes a lot of the oh, not that one. No, not that one. Actually, this one here. Yeah, that's the patch. This is the one that's generated by Mater's script. And it basically changes a lot of records and puts a lot of keywords in records that I guess his script or his sorting modules or mods use. But when this was above the bash patch, which it should actually be below, what it did was, if you take a look over here,
home sweet home.
you're gonna have to ignore her. All right, so if you take a look over here, you'll see where it's got fragmentation grenades, right? Well, over here I have a fragmentation. This is just the fragmentation grenade. However, once that was moved up, like I said, I didn't even notice it. This actually had two different fragmentation grenade columns. So I believe at that point it changed. It either applied or didn't apply. So the best I can figure, again, like I said, we'll start out with two different columns. Now it's okay. I didn't do anything to it other than just go over to here and move this down below bash patch. So I believe what happened when it moved up, it provided two different, I don't want to say references, but where he updates the records. There are different record types where he'll add information to it. It provided two different types of information to the same kind of record. And therefore, the sorter patch basically said, okay, I've got two different types of ammo, even though it's one and the same. All I did is move it down, load a game save, like over here, and we're good to go. Everything is fine. But I'm still getting that problem. I don't know. I don't think necessarily that's baked into the game save per se. I mean, not that particular switching. I think that was more of something else. So I
love sitting here.
I'm gonna cut her off where she gets crazy. So I don't know. I don't really know what is causing this right here, which is that reset thing. Let me highlight these real fast. I don't know. It's coming from here. I don't really know what's causing that. I do know that if these are references, they are not in the system. I did not remove any mods. I did update the sewer, but I haven't been in there yet. If this is a container, player inventory would act like a container. There are containers in the world that gets reset. I'm assuming if it's Workshop Framework, it would have something to do with the actual settlement and not something that is um,
Watching you.
something. Let me get away from her real quick. Something that before she starts getting too saucy. Something that is just out in the world. So, and I don't like. Of course, when you build your settlement, you are going to remove and delete things. I don't remember adding containers that I deleted. I do have containers over here. That is just basic storage containers. Oops. Yeah, so I mean, I do have storage containers that I added, but I didn't necessarily delete them. I do have, these might be considered storage containers, so I don't really know like how the script in your system looks at it, but they very well could be considered that. So it could be one of these, which is from another mod. That's like Caritas Treasures. This is just a display shelf for your, God, I can't even think of the holotapes. And then you've got your display for your bottles, and then your things. So it could be one of these, or it could be something in here that's doing it. I did not delete any of these. If they're container, I could have stored some of these in a workshop, like let's say these magazine racks. I could have stored that in a workshop, and I think when I built them, I did store or scrap some of these little Caritas containers. Like if this is a container, so I'm assuming that's what it is, or functions as a container. I did delete these because I would try to stick them on the walls and they didn't fit, so I'm like, okay, that's not going to work. This also, I don't know if that serves as a container, but you can't really open it and see what's in it, but it could be a hidden container.
Hey.
What's the one thing you can't imagine life without? For me,
a lot of commentary, maybe. So let's see. Other than that, I have no idea what could have even caused that. So I don't know. Maybe I'm hoping that'll give you enough information to try and track down what it could be. The one thing I would probably wonder is what specifically those scripts are attached to. So if it's attached to a container, is it attached to all containers? Like let's say NPC inventory, that would help isolate what I might have done or what might be done that's causing that. Other than that, I'm not really sure. I hope that helps some. Like I said, I haven't had any crashes or anything that would be weird. It just pops up, and I didn't know. Because I noticed at one point in time, if the object is not of a particular type, I noticed that was relevant to some of the things you guys are doing in your mod development, because it wouldn't allow the script to run because variables were a different type, and I'm assuming they don't do any type of overflow checking. So a 4 byte or like a 4 byte long or an 8 byte long value or a 4 byte word value would overwrite the data in another value if depending on how they do it. Especially if it's word aligned, they'll just drop it wherever the first offset pointer is, and it can overwrite data if it's the wrong type. So I could see why they would probably check it first. It'd probably be the fastest way to do it, as opposed to putting code in the actual script when it compiles to make sure there is no field overruns. Okay, so I hope that helps. I don't really know what it could be, but if you have some ideas or something you want me to check, let me know. If you want to see a game save file, I can upload that. That's not a problem. Or if there's like a test where it'd be like, okay, drop this container, then get its reference, turn around and delete it, and see if that pops up. So drop let's say a trunk or something, or even put another one of those posters on the board, those little container posters, if that's what they are, and then turn right around and get its reference first, and then delete it. And speaking of that, I don't know if it's prefaced with FF, but let's take a look. Let's go over here and take a look here and see what it could possibly be. Yeah, see, so it is with FF. So it could be one of these. So I might actually, as a test, drop one, get the at least try to do it one at a time. Maybe put one of these up and drop some of those little like bottle and bot storage containers like these. Drop these on the wall and see if when I delete them, get their reference, and then see if when I delete them, it actually is what's popping up in the papyrus log, and that would probably explain that. Whether it's custom or not, I don't know. Also, what exactly does that function do? I mean, what does resetting the inventory do? To me, reset is where it will, it'll like, let's say there's, it's a, I forget the term for it. It's like it's not a reload. Refresh is not the term I'm looking. It's a reset. It's like a reset. Remember they had like a cell reset bug, where there'd be a container here. I'd put a bunch of stuff in it. It would reset the container with something new. Is that what that does? What's I looked at the description of it, but it didn't really tell me much about its function or its purpose in like the overall scheme of things. I noticed that it was linked to objects, so I'm guessing that what that does is it generates events that it then passes on to everything that references the one like the script before it. It's just a way of sharing events and trying to streamline things. At least that's how I look at it. So I hope that helps, and let me know if there's anything else I can get you that might try and help explain what that is.